Is it time to sell your rental property? Taking the plunge into the rental market requires a checklist of things you need to know. Mike and Brook discuss this in detail in the latest Cleveland Real Estate Investor podcast.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Riley with Controller-in-Chief of Riley Painting and Contracting and Riley Properties, Brook Riley. Brook, how you doing?
Hey, good. Doing good.
Okay, well, we're going to be talking about if you've got an investment property and you turned it into an Airbnb, how's that working for you this year as opposed to past years? And the subject matter we're going to talk about is it time to sell the property? What's your initial thoughts, Brook?
Well, I think if, it's underperforming, if you're seeing a lot of vacancies and, not a lot of revenue, then it's definitely worth, investigating and testing the market to see what kind of price you could get.
We're still in a little bit of a seller's market, people. We're still in a little bit, but that is going to start leveling out. Inflation report just came out. Inflation is cooled. It's down to 2.5%. The Fed's talking about lowering interest rates again, now that inflation is cooling. And one of the key indicators of inflation cooling was on residential properties, price of housing, price of rents. It's going down. It's not going up. And I think what's happening is as the post-COVID hangover wears off, economically, we're in a position where we're getting back to probably where we were about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where we were coming out of the crash. Things were leveling off a little. The Obama 08, 09, when he took over, and he inherited another problem from the Republicans like Bill Clinton did in 92 and started turning things around. And the economy was getting better and better around 2014, 2015. And then a couple of years later, we've got COVID, and that was a major earthquake. So we're starting to level off now, and there's talk of building more housing. So if Kamala Harris gets in, there's definitely going to be a push on the government side to build more housing, which means that there is no longer going to be a scarcity of housing. And add to that the glut of people who have now heard about Airbnb, and Airbnb has pushed people to become hosts. Unlike 5 years ago or 4 years ago, when we were doing Airbnb, we kind of owned the space in Cleveland. And now we got every Tom, Dick, and Harry calling us up to manage their property and get into turning it into Airbnb. And as a result, we're seeing more vacancies than we saw last year, a couple of years ago. We're starting to counsel some of the few clients that we do have who we've been managing their properties. And again, I should add, we're very selective in who we take on as a client. But we're actually counseling them to join us in actually selling off some of our properties. And because if you're not getting 10 months out of the year rented at Airbnb prices, which should be double what you would get, at least double what you would get on a conventional renter, then maybe you think about exiting while you still have a seller's market. What's your general comments, Bro?
Yeah, well, your last part, which was what I was going to say is, I mean, you're in a situation now where, it is still kind of a seller's market. So if you have a house that's underperforming, or if you have a house that's just getting by and there's just so much competition, it might be, the smart financial decision to try to unload that property.
Yeah, always be aware of following conventional wisdom versus being a contrarian. So you want to buy when everybody's selling, and you want to sell when everybody's buying. So, we
It's
bought a
kind of
lot
like, sorry to jump in. It's kind of like, as like a football analogy, everyone wanted the hot, young, offensive genius. That's what everyone wanted. And sometimes the best thing to do is to go against the grain and say, all right, well, the pickings are slim on these, hot offensive quarterback gurus. Why don't I get the best young defensive guy? So yeah, I mean, you're going against conventional wisdom.
Yeah, I think with real estate, first of all, ask yourself this question, people. Are you getting into real estate because that's where you should be in real estate, as opposed to just investing your money in to a money market fund or an ETF, mutual fund? So why exactly are you getting into real estate? And I've found in talking to people, they just think that's what you should be doing. It's like, I just graduated from high school, and well, I guess I go to college now. Really? I mean, so what exactly is why are you going to college? Why aren't you taking a year off? Are you questioning college? Are you questioning where you're investing? Do you know how much money you make every year and how much you spend? Because let me just stop right there. And before you jump into the real estate pool, you better know how to budget your money. I mean, literally budget your personal money. I make X number of $1,000 a month. I spend X number Y $1,000 a month in expenses, and I have this in savings. If you don't know that, the last place you want to be is in real estate, because it is shark infested waters. Your thoughts, Brooke?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't manage your own personal finances, I'd be really scared to, see what you're spending on a rental or, a property investment.
And we just
So,
had one. We just had one of our clients, longtime clients, one of our original clients, who bought a couple of our properties, and we had a very interesting situation happen where this is in a kind of a so-so area of town, close to the clinic, and we had people who had a fire that called us up. Their insurance company called us up. They wanted to rent it. They were paying 2.5 times a month what we could get for the rental market. So instead of like $1,600 a month for this 4-bedroom, we were able to get over $4,000 a month. Place was already furnished. They needed it for 6 months, and there was a chance that they could keep extending, because that happens a lot when you do fire relocation. It just takes longer for them to get the house ready. And well, sure enough, they did a lot of damage to the house. 6, 7 people in this house. So everything needed to be repainted. So all of a sudden now we're looking at, 1 month of that rent, a little over 1 month of that rent went into the damages that they incurred. But I'm still thinking my way through this. I'm thinking, okay, they moved out a month ago. This place is still vacant. We've cleaned it all up. It's ready to go, but we're going into the winter. And so are we going to be able to book this place? Are we going to be able to book other places that we have, which are currently vacant? And so Now the thought's on the table. Is it time to exit? Take the money. Take the money. We've kind of broke even on this one house this year in terms of rents. But maybe it's time to really think outside the box and think, hey, it's time to sell. And we can make more money on the sale because the house has appreciated over the last couple of years. Take the money and then maybe reinvest it in something else that maybe has a higher profile of renting. But there is a lot going on here. This is a very deep pool of water, people. This is not the baby pool. And you do not want to be in a situation where you're hemorrhaging money going into the winter. And you saw what that one property we just got finished doing. I mean, there was a lot involved here. Thoughts, Brooke?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty simple concept, get a spreadsheet out, one column expenses, one column is your revenue. And if your revenue if that number's lower than your expenses, then you're doing something wrong. And it might be time to, unload it, unless you've got, a lot of money and you're willing to wait it out. And, but I mean, it all comes down to what your numbers are.
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. If you've been listening to this podcast, then you understand or should understand the pitfalls of investing in Cleveland real estate. Say you're looking for an investment property to rent, and these are the things that could happen and often do. You overpay for a house, and it's in the ghetto. Then you find that it's a money pit with endless surprise repairs. Your hapless property manager, who may be the brother-in-law of the realtor, gets a tenant who after 3 months stops paying the rent. Then the toilet explodes, and you have nobody to repair it because, guess what? The property manager is not answering the phone. Yep, that's the ugly side of the Cleveland real estate market. But we have a solution. Buy one of our properties. It's been inspected. It's been vetted. It's in a rock-solid part of town. It comes with a Gold Star tenant paying top dollar rent, and we manage it. Call us at 216-371-8160 if you're interested.
Right. And if you don't know what your numbers are, you can't make the right change. Let me use the example of you. You've got a map, right? No. I'm sorry. Let me take it back. You're on a trip, right? You're going out and you're going, where are you going? You know where you're going? Are you going to, I'm living in Cleveland. Are we going to Columbus, which is south? Are we going to Toledo, which is west? Are we going to Pittsburgh, which is east? Where are we going? If you don't have a spreadsheet, you don't have a map. And if you don't have a projected profit that you're driving towards for the year, you don't even know where you're going. You're just getting in the car and driving. That's what investing in real estate is about. You just are investing in real estate because you feel I should be investing in real estate. It sounds good, right? How about saving for college? You got a little kid. Are you going to start saving for college? Why are you saving for college? Because that's what everybody does at a certain point in their life. Why are you opening up a restaurant? Well, I love to cook. Why are you opening up X, Y, or Z? Because I like doing this. It's not connected to making money. It's connected to an emotion. You have to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know if you're losing money or not. Thoughts, Brooke?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty scary. Like I mean, I feel comfortable with money and managing, my budget with my wife, and we just had our first son. So, but yeah, I mean, if you don't know what, like, I mean, like, let's just say this: when my wife and I go to Costco, we have our lists. We do it on Thursday. We go to Costco on Friday. I know that that number can't exceed a certain amount. And if I'm going down the clothes aisle and I'm looking at, Cleveland Browns swag and Cleveland Guardians hoodies and Stanleys and um I I tell myself, all right, that number is gonna be higher, So it's like if you don't know what your numbers are, if you don't know what you're spending, you're screwed. So
Right. Don't go into business. Let's just kind of get some little check boxes. These are the do's and don'ts. Number one, do you know how to do a budget and a spreadsheet? Okay. If that box is not checked, do not keep going down this road. You need to know how to budget and do a spreadsheet. Number two, do you make decisions based on facts and numbers, or do you base it on conventional wisdom and emotions? That's number two. If you check on facts and numbers, keep going down the road. What's another check? What's number three, Brooke? You throw something out?
yeah, let's see. I'm kind of torn between, like, you need to know the do's and don'ts of like home renovations. Like, if you want to spend $30,000 on a kitchen for a rental, instead of breaking that up into painting and cleaning the windows, doing some landscaping, I think that's a pretty big checkbox. You need to understand, like, home renovation types of projects and what the priorities are.
Right. That's good. Number three is, do you know the business you're investing in? Right. I mean, if you're going into Airbnb, scented candles and baskets, in the powder room, are irrelevant.
Does the
That's
toilet work?
Does
Is
the
there
toilet
hot
work?
water?
Right. Is the landscaping clean? Are the
Does it
windows
does
washed?
does the house smell?
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, how's the kitchen? Is it got granite or has it got nice clean countertops? Is the neighborhood safe? These are all check boxes within check boxes. So number three is, do you know the business you're investing in? If it's a accounting business, if it's a service business, do you know that business? Or are you just stumbling in it because, I think it'll work. So that's number three. I'll throw in number four, which is related to number three. What do you do if things go south? Are you going to run to your daddy, your mommy? Are you trust fund kid? Are you borrowed to the limit? I mean, what happens if interest rates go up? What happens if you lose your job? What happens if you get sick? What happens if things go south? Do you have a cushion?
What happens if you have a squatter?
Right. Well, that's kind of goes back to number three. Do you know your business? Yeah. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? What could go wrong if you go to college? Well, what could go wrong is you could be spending a lot of money and not getting a job out of that, because if you think you're going to college to get a job, you might want to think about going to community college and then figuring out what that job is. Or if you don't know what you want to do, instead of going to college, I got an option for you. Why don't you read the New York Times every day? That's college. Do you read a book? So again, what is the end point, and do you know how to get to? That's the common thread in all these things. Let's go let's go number 5. Number 4 was going